Hello everyone and welcome to this channeling update with myself, Faye Channing. I am a channeler, a multidimensional channeler, and I'm here just to bring messages from my guides and my network to share with you here today. And it's been a really interesting time because it feels like we have shifted into this beautiful reclaiming of self. And I don't know about you, but have you noticed how we are just really listening to within, even more so? So those little niggles and those little nudges around, actually, I don't really want to do that, or really clear decisions, or really understanding where our energy feels heightened and it feels refreshed, it feels rejuvenated, compared to actually the times in our energy field feels quite low and it feels quite heavy and it feels quite stagnant. And the reason for this is because we are starting to embed more into the body, and we are also starting to embed more into that multidimensional self where our energy field is heightening. Our energy field in the body needs this nourishment, and we're really starting to notice what's in our world that doesn't allow us to feel nourished. And this is such a pathway for change, massive change, because, maybe we tried it before and we did all the things that tick the box and, yeah, I'm doing everything and I'm expecting this change. But actually, there's subtle changes that are coming in now off the back of all the work that's happened previously in the collective, especially around nervous systems. It's starting to come to fruition now. And this is really exciting time because actually people are starting to live from how they're feeling rather than how they think they should be living, which is a very, very different timeline. So once we're on a timeline and making decisions and taking action, it actually creates this beautiful energetics in the collective, which we can all tap into. What's even more beautiful is actually we've started to eliminate this sense of identity even more, because the more we come into the feeling and the more we come into the guidance from feeling how we should navigate our own lives personally, we come into our own leadership, then we start to really navigate actually how we don't really need to cling on to these identities of who am I anymore. It's just a being. It's just an embodiment of the energy. And this is going to be the next step. This is going to be the next step in the collective consciousness. And it's going to throw up some niggles because there's things that we've been really holding tight onto that have been really steering the ship to get there, and it might not resonate in a few weeks' time. And it can feel a bit disheartening, of course it can, especially if you put all that effort in, but there's always a reason why we went on that journey. And sometimes it's just being in our energy field and feeling and just connecting to something is more than enough. It doesn't always have to be this plan, this really high experience in order for us to actually connect to something that's meant for us. Because there's a subtleness now, there is a softness, there is an allowing that allows us to actually just connect. When my guides come in and they say to me, as a collective, you're here to experience, you're here just to experience your life. But however, you all want this plan. You all want this identity, you all want this structure. But actually, it's in the losing in the structure that you allow yourself to experience, because there's already a plan. And isn't it interesting how we can get so caught up in the everyday stuff, or, me too. I'm not perfect at all. I don't know what perfect is. I hate that word. Should we just get rid of it? But, I can get caught up in this as well. So it's a really good reminder of my guys coming, because it's like, hi, I need this too. But actually, it's like this reminder, we're just here to experience, So actually, how about we wake up in our day and just allow the day to give us the experience that we need, rather than trying to construct it and trying to force it into ways and pathways that get to this execution that we think we should be experiencing. And it's funny, isn't it? We come into this earth plane, we sign a contract, we come to experience earth at this time. However, we want to control the experience. Well, that's not really why we're here. Yeah. And when we take that pressure of having to experience certain things at certain times and everything to be on this very structured, straight and narrow, how do we allow ourselves to really feel in that moment? Because, did we actually allow ourselves to lead the day into that kind of a connection, or did we try and steer it too much? And that's the switch. And this comes with another round of ego, identity, release. So I think there is going to be a bit of confusion in the collective around who am I, or when we find out who we are, because obviously ancient timelines are showing up. And I know in my practice, people are waking up to angelic powers, galactic connection, going into trance and channeling their higher self and everything in between that space. Once we connect to that, there becomes this desire. But there doesn't need to be a desire, because you already are. And in that already knowing who you are is allowing the energetics to just work with you in this universe, in this world. So there's no pressure to be that one thing. And there's a lot of deaths happening in that identity part right now and in that section. And it can be challenging because, we might feel like, oh God, who am I then? Who am I? Who am I? Is this person? Am I just existing? Am I just living? You might feel like that, but there's so much more to it. So much more to it, because we're allowing space to receive when we're ready to receive. Also, it's okay to have a normal day, whatever normal is. Again, normal, should we get rid of that word? And there's a lot of to do with belief as well. There's a lot of belief coming back into the collective, a lot of belief in self and trust in each other, which is actually what's needed, is that we're stopping to look into the external world for answers, and we're starting to look at each other, knowing that we hold the mirrors for the answers and the connections with each other. We learn from being around one another. That is our strength. And that is what's going to be coming in quite strongly, and it's starting to happen. And this is why so many people are connecting to this sense of community. And this is what's been ramping up very, very strongly in the collective. And that's because we understand that actually from other sort of dimensions of life, we that's how we always work. But somehow in the human race, we start to understand that actually no, it's me versus everyone. But this is just a script. This is just a game that has been played out into your mindset to allow yourself to be divided. However, you know that you can just connect to what's in front of you and receive guidance from self, or you look at one another and talk and connect for experience and learn, because you understand someone else's experience can hold the energetics behind the word to help you understand where you need to go next, and that we are all guides for each other. And if we just believe in that sense of actually we are together, then actually this is what changes the dynamics on your planet right now, because you're allowing this change to ripple out into how you want it to be and how it is meant to manifest, because you are actually manifesting all the time. We just don't realize it, you're not told it, because actually what is being constructed is a plan above all of you that wants to steer the ship, but you're realizing now that actually the ship is steered from within and with each other. And there's no right or wrong way to do this other than just to feel and allow yourself to open up to this sense of freedom and space in the energetic field, and just open up your sense of your energy field to allow that just to come in. There's nothing that you need to do. You'll feel the gravitational pull when you have got to a stage in your journey where you are open to not just being one, but being part of. That's a decision you have to personally make. That's not something that that we can force upon you as support. This is Faye's Guides talking here, and we're just allowing that just to come in again. It's not something we can force upon you. It's not something that we can force upon you at all to give you that sense of connection. It's something you have to choose within. It's a choice of allowing yourself to allow the ego identity just to soften and know that actually there is something more for this planet than just your journey. Even though it's very important to have this individual journey to allow yourself to accelerate on a soul path. However, as we talked about earlier, we are connecting to each other to learn from one another, and that's a sense of community. So the choice is actually within the individual. And it's not something that you guys can force upon one another. It's actually something that we understand that has to be done as an individual journey, which this is the next wave that's coming in for the human collective. Great. Okay, so just coming back in there. Just sending that energy out to each and every one of you. Just to receive that from my guides. Should probably give them a name at some point. Maybe we'll work on that. Thank you. That was really beautiful. Yeah, so it's a really exciting time. I'm really excited. I love everything that I'm seeing and witnessing in the field, and thank you guides as well for coming and sharing that. But it really feels like a very enriching time, and it's anything can come our way, and it's like, okay, that's fine, we'll just work through it, or we'll just problem solve, because actually we believe in ourselves enough to actually solve that, or work together. And I think it's been a long time coming. We've actually asked for this. This is something that back in January, in one of my videos, maybe the only video actually, I shared this returning back to simpler times. It's really interesting because a good friend I do a lot of psychic channeling with mentioned this about 4 years ago. And it's really interesting how I was always quite aware of this sense of like returning back to older times, and it didn't really land in my field until January. And now we're seeing this need to step away from the electricity or things that are not energetic. And it's really interesting because I've really noticed it myself on a personal human level, that if I'm around technology, especially being pregnant as well in my last few weeks, I've really noticed how much holding a phone can really trigger my energy field, or just being around electronics. And it's really interesting, isn't it, how something that was just so in our field all the time, something we all use, can start to feel really alien. And off the back of this, I think a lot of people will be leaving social media, or we will be going back to, ways how we used to connect. And we have, like I said, we have requested this in the collective. We have requested this returning back to a way that feels really good, because everything is energy and we understand that. And that is the most important currency that we have. That is the currency. It's not money. Even though we have to use it now and again, I get that. I'm not being one of those, you don't need money in life to survive. But what I'm trying to say is there's something that is above that now. Not this arena that has been played out as a false storyline. Above that is the connection to our energy, and how does that feel? And actually, where do we get that from? So it's been lovely to catch up with you all today. There is more, isn't there? Okay. Yeah. So there's a few other things I need to talk about apparently, which I've forgotten. So good job, guides are coming in on that. It's this sense of multi-dimensional self, and I keep talking about it, and I keep talking about it with friends, family, people that I'm around that are connected to this kind of topic, and it keeps coming through really, really strongly because there's so many elements of self which I described in my last video that have come from past life, where we have learned this like abundance of skills. And in this letting go of this sense of identity and letting go of this sense of, you know, who am I? There's actually a really nice doorway for creation. And this creation comes from all those parts of you that have collected in order for you to maybe bring into the world, or maybe for you to actually use in your own life. Because I think there's these elements of these nuggets, I call them, from our higher self or guides or past life information that we are remembering that can really, really help in this day and time. And once that comes in, because it's so new, because it hasn't come from someone else, because it hasn't got a label, it hasn't been certified by some course, or because it has just purely come from self, it's almost becomes this forgotten bit of information, or oh, it's just a thought, or it's just imagination. No, actually, that is yourself connecting to yourself in order to bring something in to your life and to others. And it's new information, it's a new way to do something. And we have to become comfortable with the new. We have to become comfortable with the new, because actually, if we're not, we're going to stay stagnant. So I know so many amazing people out there, and the people that meet in the future, that have these so many past lives. You know, one minute they're very they're Palladian, or next minute, you know, they've been a tree. You know, it's just endless, right? And it's like all this knowledge and all this wealth, actually a wealth of knowledge we can start to bring in to formulate newness. And I think there's a permission that needs to be given here energetically in this video, if you're not feeling already, to create, to have fun with it, to experience, yeah? Because if that's coming through, that's an experience that's waiting to be birthed into this world. And I think there's going to be a lot of changes in how we do things, who we look up to. It's all this returning back within, and you know, this sense of creation is so amazing. And that creation doesn't have to always be in the healing world or healing industry or well-being industry. It could be working with plants, it could be, you know, generating really good soil, or a new way to do that, or maybe it's putting the right people together in the same room and watching them create something. You know, facilitation is going to be really big, by the way, for the next couple of years. We are going to need more facilitators as people wake up to who they are. So that's a really, really big one to drop in here. Okay, feeling into that. But that's everything for today. So it's so lovely to see you, and these updates will come in as of when. You know, like I said, I'm about to go on my own journey with a little one that wants to come into the earth plane at this time. So yeah, we're navigating that, but I'm looking forward to seeing you again. And if you haven't liked and subscribed and done all those YouTube things, it'd be really great, because you know what, this is going to be a place for my channeling and updates, and I'd love to have you here and just share these energetics with you. So take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you really soon.